Let's unpack the story a little further now. I'm joined in studio from Cape Town by political analyst Judith. Judith, thank you very much for your time this morning. What do you make of what happened in Parliament yesterday? Is the EFF achieving what it set out to?
Well, good morning, Iveka. Well, you would remember that this week the President responded, well, last Thursday, to the Public Protector's report on eNCA, and an ad hoc committee has been set up by Parliament. And curiously enough, the Chief Whip of the ANC, Stone Sazani, declared the ANC satisfied with the President's response, even before the ad hoc committee has begun its work. Now, that doesn't all go particularly well, so one isn't surprised when the EFF, despite the tactics that are being used, when they become rather impatient with the President and are really looking for accountability in this case, because if you have the Chief Whip of the ANC saying we're satisfied with the report and then setting up an ad hoc committee, it doesn't really leave much hope that we'll get to the bottom of this saga, and also that the Public Protector's report recommendations will be implemented.
Now, just looking at some of the comments, and you've heard us reading out some of our comments from our viewers, from South Africans out there, saying, some of them saying, yes, we agree with what the EFF was doing, but the way they went about doing it is what sort of takes away from their credibility. You agree with that?
Well, I think so, because of course every time we have a debate in Parliament, we can't have it descend into a media circus. I think, of course, that there are ways of handling this, and it does seem as if there needs to be not a rule-based solution, because the Speaker might decide that she wants to suspend the EFF MPs, and I think that would be the wrong way to go, because clearly this needs a different kind of solution. There is talk that Cyril Ramaphosa, as the leader of government business, will meet with the EFF and other opposition parties. There are rules in Parliament and one has to adhere to that. But at the same time, I think the Speaker walked into the trap. She ought to just have allowed the supplementary questions and also demanded a proper response from the President. It's very difficult to know whether Baleka Mbete is wearing her hat as party chairperson or indeed as impartial Speaker of Parliament. It seems to be that she's doing the former more than the latter.
And the decision to call in riot police, do you think that was appropriate?
I think it's completely inappropriate. It was an exaggerated response to a debate in Parliament. Fair enough, the freedom fighters were chanting, pay back the money and so on. And to call in riot police, to do what? To protect the President? In any event, the President was whisked away out of this very embarrassing scenario. I fail to see why the President needs such protection. A debate is won in Parliament if you're able to respond properly. The President did not respond properly, lost the debate and caused this embarrassment. Riot police, completely unacceptable in a democratic Parliament. And curiously, Iveka, the news feed from Parliament was cut, or we seem to have lost feed during the evacuation, so to speak, of the EFF members. And one wants to ask exactly what happened and if that was a crude form of censorship, which was happening. I think that at the heart of all of this, of course, is that there is a gap in accountability, that the President does believe that he doesn't owe South Africa answers on eNCA, and indeed this is the chickens coming home to roost, both on the ANC's internal politics and also on the President's lack of accountability on eNCA, but also on Guptagate, on 13 soldiers being killed in the Central African Republic, and a litany of other examples we can bring up.
Just looking at the reaction, Judith, from all political parties, including the DA, saying that, you know, the EFF should have followed the rules. Is it not a bit of sort of, one could say, envy that the EFF is kind of achieving what the DA hasn't been able to for years?
Well, of course, the EFF speaks to the heart of the ANC's constituency, and that's why the ANC is so threatened by them, so threatened by Julius Malema, because he knows where some of the skeletons are hidden, particularly in Limpopo. He has inside information about how the party works, and he has that credibility and talks to the heart of the ANC's constituency, which, of course, the DA does not have, will probably never have. Having said that, I do think that we need to restore some form of order. There needs to be some political solution here, and we can't have every single plenary debate or question time descend into this kind of mayhem and chaos. It doesn't look good. It undermines the purpose. What one's trying to do is extract accountability. But then again, Yuveka, in the face of the president's consistent stonewalling, people are getting fed up.
And Judith, the other elephant in the room is that most people are saying, well, that's fresh coming from Julius Malema, who has his own charges to answer to.
Well, absolutely, and we know that all of this is a little contradictory in a sense, that you have someone like Julius Malema who's trying to hold the president to account. But I think that the opposition parties as a body, we all have questions. Well, the opposition parties and citizens have questions about Nkandla. This week we heard the public protector saying that she didn't feel the president has responded adequately to her report. The president, I think what is deeply worrying about his response is he seems to create an equivalence between the Public Protector's report, the SIU report, and the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence's report into Nkandla. That can't be so. The Public Protector's Office is one which is protected in terms of our constitutional democracy and therefore has primacy. He's evading and skirting the issue because it is convenient for him. And I think we need to be very careful when we look at that response, and particularly within the ad hoc committee as well, as to which report has primacy.
All right, unfortunately, that's all we have time for. Senior Research Associate at the Institute for Security Studies there, Judith February.
You deserve to know more.
eNCA.com